And next up, we have Tom Bedell from Breedlove, who makes some of the best guitars in the world today. Fantastic acoustic guitars. And I see he's brought one with us here.
Yeah, this is our brand new concerto. It's a brand new body shape.
Okay.
And we use some scientific technology that we've learned called sound profiling to get a bigger, more projection sound than the typical dreadnought, but a more complex textured tone. So
I could tell you've been talking a lot today.
It's been a big day.
You got a little bit of a NAMM grit in there, a little NAMM gravel.
I do.
So tell me about the shape. I mean, I noticed that the waist here is like like it feels like a little thinner. A little is that part of it, or?
Well, we had a multiple criteria when we designed this. It's really beautiful, isn't it? That Cocobolo.
That's really beautiful. If you can get a shot of that.
You know, if you take a dreadnought, it's kind of a rectangle.
Yep.
And you go to put it on your lap, and it's sliding off and so forth. So we wanted to keep the waist.
Gotcha.
But we also know that there's not much sound. There's not much sound that's created up here.
Okay.
It's all down in that lower bout.
Yep.
And so we wanted to get the same air volume as a typical dreadnought. So we made the instrument thicker. As you can see, it's about a 5-inch thick at the bottom. We made the sound hole smaller, and so we get more air compression, and that holds the notes inside the body longer, so they get a chance to blossom. You know when you hear a voice that is kind of shrill, and then it breaks out into that vibrato, and you go, "Oh man, that's beautiful."
Yep.
That's what you really want to have happen with a guitar note.
Well, it's sort of funny. I mean, I guess it's with all acoustic instruments. I've told some people here already today, but I also play violin. And one really interesting thing about violin is a really great one sounds a little harsh when it's right next to your ear.
Right.
But it's when the note travels and it has a chance to sort of blossom and go forth. I've heard people say that, Stradivarius up to your ear is it's a little bit harsh. But you get out there a couple of feet out there,
and it gets a chance to build,
and it opens up and blossoms. So that's what I'm hearing from you about this guitar.
Exactly.
Another interesting. Somebody was telling me about this the other day. I was sort of fascinated by it. That at Breedlove Guitars, you guys have something that you call sound profiling.
Yes.
Something that goes into almost every guitar that you make, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. This has been a big breakthrough for us. So if you look at acoustic guitar builders for the...
Do you want to set that down?
Yeah, that'd be great. Acoustic guitar builders forever have used tops to a dimension. So you cut a Sitka spruce top, let's say, to 125 thousandths inch.
Yep.
And every guitar you cut to the same dimension. But if you take a 500-year-old tree, I mean, picture you're up in the southeast Alaska, the Tongass National Forest, and that tree was fighting its way through the forest before Columbus encountered America.
Yep.
And it slowly grew. Over 500 years, it grew maybe 300 feet tall. So you can tell how slow it grows. So inside that tree, the wood at the top and the wood at the bottom aren't the same. The younger wood on the outside versus the center aren't the same. But guitar makers tend to just take Sitka, and build it all to the same dimension.
Right.
So we figured out that doesn't make sense, because what we're trying to do is to activate the top and have it move against the back at a set of, it's about 30 hertz difference that we want it to be. And to make sure we control that, instead of cutting to a dimension, we're going to cut to a frequency. So we actually take each of our tops at Breedlove, we tap them into a computer, and it shows us the modes, and it gives us the deflection and the weight and the mass, and then we in turn say, if we're going to put that in a big sounding guitar, this is what we want the mass per square inch to be on that guitar, and we need to sand it to, let's say, 110 thousandths instead of 125. So each one of our tops will vary in the dimension based on the nature of that particular piece of wood.
Wow. So maybe another way of describing it to people that couldn't follow some of that.
I'm sorry.
is you almost tune the wood to the instrument. Like you get it, you get the actual wood becomes more harmonious.
Correct.
In order to vibrate in just a more harmonious way, right?
Well, of course, the way guitar works is the top pushes the air against the back.
Right.
The back pushes the air back against the top and out the sound hole. So you want it to move like this. But if you have a 30% variance in your tops and a 30% variance in your backs, you could get a guitar that moves like this.
They're going to fight each other.
And you won't get much sound out of it. Yeah. Or you could get a guitar that's doing this. So if you want to
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, there you go. So if you really want to get it right, you want them to really have the right distance, top to back, and you want them to have the right energy for how they work together. And instead of just doing it randomly now, we can actually do it with frequency analysis.
Does it surprise you that after hundreds of years that you can actually find a new way and a way to improve an acoustic guitar?
Well, actually, I don't know this, but my gut is that when you took the Craftsman back in maybe the 1930s, that they didn't have any of this science that we have. They didn't have the computer programs, but they were artists.
They had better trees back then, I think.
I think they could probably feel, or they could say, this one's a little too stiff, or this one. But then we got away from that because things started getting built by CNC machines and so forth. And so really what we've done is taken what made guitars great back in the 30s and applied science to be able to do that now.
Yeah, we don't have the time or the patience to be that intuitive.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
We need computers to help us out with all of these things. So, aside from this beautiful guitar that we have over here, do you have any other new? Does Breedlove showing any other new instruments that we should know about?
Oh yes, we pretty much completely revamped the entire line because we applied sound profiling to every guitar that we build at Breedlove, and we learned a lot from that. So, for example, we have a guitar called the Moonlight, which weighs less than 3.5 pounds. That's a pound less than a typical guitar we make. And the energy that travels through it is just incredible. It's just so alive. And we were able to discover that through all the sound profiling work. So we pretty much, from top to bottom, revamped the product line, and it's being really well received. It sounds extraordinary.
Were you mad when you figured this out? Or were you happy?
My production manager was mad. My production manager goes, well, no, first my wood buyer, because now every piece of wood that comes in is an individual material. We don't have a stack of 100 pieces of Sitka tone wood. We have one, and then the next, and each one's profiled, right? So they have to do all that work, and then when we're deciding what guitar they're going to go in, they have to go through and find the one that matches up that body and what our goal is on how the guitar will play and sound. So we made it a lot more complicated.
But they're doing it all for you out there.
That's right.
Where's the best way for somebody to go check out a Breedlove?
Well, of course, if you're at the NAMM show, come on down to Hall E, and they're all there. And we have our sound profiling booth there, and we'll actually show you how we do all the frequency analysis and how it all works. But otherwise, just visit your Breedlove dealer, and they'll have these guitars for you to see.
So you can find out where your nearest Breedlove dealer is at
BreedloveGuitars.com.
BreedloveGuitars.com.
Hit the dealer button.
Yes, okay, man. So anyways, it's such a pleasure to have you, Tom.
Thanks, Brad.
And very fascinating. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that guitar, although NAMM is...
It's a little hard right here.
Not the best. Not the best.
We have a sound booth in our booth down here, so people can hear him. Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to check it out.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.